Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my official NFL Week 14 picks and predictions, where I predict the score of every upcoming NFL matchup. I believe this is the last week for all the bye week teams, so next week we should have a full slate. But guys, week number 14, we begin with the Amazon Prime Thursday night game, and we do have the Vegas Raiders traveling to Los Angeles. The Raiders, 6-point favorites in this one. The Rams put up a good fight, scored a little bit, even with their backup quarterback. The Rams at this point, total disaster after winning their Super Bowl last year. They don't have their first round pick. It is a complete mess, but at least they already won their Super Bowl. And then the Raiders, guys, I think right now the best situation is to ride the Raiders and how well they're playing, especially on offense. I don't think we need to overreact to the Rams' good performance last week. I'll take the Raiders minus the 6 to cover in this one on the road. Davante Adams really coming on with Derek Carr, even with the injuries they've suffered. This is a good Raiders team. They're going to win this game on the road. Moving to the 1 o'clock slate, we've got the Jets and the Bills. The Bills, 9.5-point favorites. And guys, Mike White really wasn't that bad on Sunday. The connection he has with Garrett Wilson is impressive. But I do have the Bills covering in this matchup, 31-17. It feels like the Jets' little Cinderella run is over. They're going to start losing a lot. It started last week, and it's going to continue here. Buffalo, Josh Allen, the impressive win in New England on Thursday Night Football. Biggest stat there, the no interceptions for Josh Allen. I would ride the under half an interception again for Josh Allen. I would do that prop bet because I feel like he's really starting to value taking care of the ball. There's a lot of emphasis on that. Now he's at home. He's in a good spot, trying to possibly get back into the MVP race. I've got Buffalo winning comfortably in that one. Next, we have the Browns and the Bengals. So the Browns really have the Bengals and Joe Burrow's number. Deshaun Watson didn't look good last week. It was all the Browns defense. I think all of their touchdowns came. They had like 3 defensive touchdowns against the horrible, hapless Houston Texans, who really are the one team in the NFL trying to tank. We'll get to them in a second. They're taking on a Cincinnati team who absolutely rewarded me, guys. I said when they were 2.5-point underdogs, take them to win outright. And they did beat Kansas City. I think Joe Burrow is 3-0 against the Chiefs now. And at some point, Cincinnati's going to win this matchup. I do think it's going to be this week. I will say it's a little bit hard to predict how good the Browns are going to be because we're really not sure when Deshaun Watson is going to shake off all of his rust. But knowing the NFL, he's randomly going to come out either next week or the week after and just play like an all-pro. That's normally how it works. We just don't know which week it's going to be. This is a Browns offense that actually was pretty impressive with Jacoby Brissett. They were a top 7 team in terms of yards per game. And they still do have Amari Cooper. They've got Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, and a really good offensive line. So they got players. It's just, is Deshaun Watson really, officially back after around 700 days of a layoff? That's what we're trying to kind of figure out. So really, when it comes to betting this game, I'm not confident either way. I do like the over because Cincinnati's offense, whether it's Joe Mixon, whether it's P. Ryan, as long as they have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Burrow, they're scoring a ton. And at some point, Cincinnati is going to beat Cleveland. They're overdue to beat them after the past few years, what's gone on. This is a divisional game. I have Cincinnati not, losing any momentum. They just got a big win at home. Now they're at home again. This is a team, their offense is full throttle right now. Joe Burrow is really starting to turn into a superstar. They get the win. Next, we've got the battle for Texas. It is Houston and Dallas. And so, guys, this is the one crazy spread in the NFL. Normally, we get 1 or 2 of these every year. The last few years, I think it's been involving the Chiefs against some just hapless team. But now it's a 17-point spread, which is uber rare for the National Football League. Dallas is at home against Houston. Guys, ESPN's FPI gives Dallas a 97% chance to win. That's like Ohio State versus Toledo levels. I mean, that does not happen in the NFL. I don't think I've ever seen that. And part of it is because it's an analytical problem. Dallas has had a few games where they've just annihilated teams. And when you do that, analytics really love that type of like massive wins. I mean, they won 54-19 against Indianapolis, I think it was. So analytics love Dallas right now. And Houston, they are the one team that has fully embraced tanking. They're not trying to win. They don't care. They're not covering any spreads. They want the number 1 overall pick. I think they'll pick Bryce Young with that. Totally understandable. I totally get it. But we just can't have them covering any spreads. I've got it 34-12. The Dallas offense at home, it's too impressive. You've got Tony Pollard, you've got Zeke, Michael Gallup getting in the end zone, CeeDee Lamb, bouncing off defenders as he's about to go down, scoring touchdowns, Dak Prescott. This Dallas team, of course, they've got to finish the season strong, but right now, the analytics love the Cowboys in terms of their chances to make the Super Bowl. Again, a lot of that is due to them blowing out a few opponents, but I mean, is there any value betting on Houston? I really don't think there is. They're making these spreads bigger and bigger, and Houston just can't cover them. But, I mean, -17 is a huge number. It is. No doubt about that. I think the Bills were -17 against someone last year. Next, we have Minnesota taking on Detroit. Detroit favorites in this matchup with Minnesota at 10-2 right now. It's funny. Last week, Minnesota was only 3-point home favorites against Mike White. I didn't understand it. I said there was value on Minnesota. Guys, I actually do understand this. Detroit is a team at home on offense. They can score. And I think this is the game where Minnesota is due for the loss. They are going to fall to 10-3, and I do have Detroit actually covering the 1.5-point spread. The value here definitely lies on Minnesota. If you trust Minnesota, Kirk Cousins, this is just kind of a fun bet for me. It just feels like Minnesota is due for a loss here, and Detroit is a team. They're young, they have talent. Jared Goff plays way better at home, so I think the Detroit Lions home over, it's like an auto win. It always hits in the dome. I'll take this game being higher scoring again. And Detroit was so impressive last week against Jacksonville. Jacksonville is just so fluky. They really are. I will take Detroit to win that game outright. Next, we have the Jaguars taking on the Tennessee Titans. So, it's been a tough history with these two teams. I was really excited about last week's game for the Jaguars. They laid an egg. Same thing with the Titans. Normally, I've been calling the Titans a fraud, and then I say, you know what, they might beat Philadelphia, and I probably deserve what happened to them. They ended up getting crushed. But in this game, guys, I am back to going against Tennessee, so they're probably going to win. But I have Jacksonville upsetting Tennessee 23-20. Both of these teams are evenly matched. It's the NFL. Really? Who knows what's going to happen? You're just flipping a coin at this point. But we're going to go with the upset. Jacksonville does have offensive upside. They're a decent team. Tennessee, to me, they still got to come back down to earth. Their record is still better than they actually are as a team, in my opinion. So I think they're due for a few losses. And Jacksonville, honestly, I could see Jacksonville as a 500 type team. I don't think they're nearly as bad as they've played this season. Next, we have the Eagles taking on the Giants. The Giants coming off that tie with the Commanders last week. The Eagles just annihilating the Tennessee Titans, and Jalen Hurts really catapulting himself to the front of the MVP discussion with Mahomes. I just can't bet against the Eagles after what they've done, last week and really overall this season. Their offense is on a roll. Jalen Hurts is on a roll. The Giants, you're tying with the Commanders at home. That's not impressing me. I understand they covered the spread. I get it. But it's just not an impressive performance. Eagles win this game, in my opinion. With their offense, with the momentum that they currently have, they're not going to throw it away. They will beat the Giants on the road. Next, we've got a divisional matchup. It'll be Baltimore, possibly without Lamar Jackson, taking on Pittsburgh. The Steelers really playing better. Kenny Pickett is developing. a really good connection there with those wide receivers. George Pickens looks like a stud, Deontay Johnson and others, and also the Steelers do have a decent defense, but I think this line is a little bit high, even if Lamar Jackson doesn't play. I trust Baltimore and their culture to really keep this game close. I can't pick them to win because I'm not sure Lamar Jackson might be out. But I do think, we're getting a little bit overzealous making the Steelers 3-point favorites with a rookie quarterback. I understand they've been playing better and they're at home, but just my opinion, I think there is value on Baltimore here, plus the 3, even though they've been playing so bad on offense. Moving to the 4 o'clock games, we have the Chiefs taking on the Denver Broncos. This spread sitting at 9.5. And my first indication, even after the Chiefs lost last week, the spread just simply isn't high enough. I have the Chiefs winning and covering the spread. A lot of different analytical models agree with me, 28-17 over a hapless Denver team who simply can't score. Quite honestly, I don't know where Denver is going to find the 17 points. We might actually have to lower that to 10. They legitimately cannot score right now. I don't know what happened to Russell Wilson since he went to Denver, but it is real sad. Their coach is a complete lame duck. He's a one-and-done. Nathaniel Hackett, he will be getting fired at the end of the season, so I just think there's no incentive right now for Denver, and it's a double whammy because Denver, they traded their first-round pick this year and next year for Russell Wilson, so they're not trying to lose these games. Quite simply, their offense just sucks. It is unfortunate. We're going to have to go in on the Chiefs to bounce back after their tough loss against Kansas City. Moving to the 425 games, San Francisco and their quarterback situation. Will they bring in Baker Mayfield? It'll be interesting. Jimmy G out for the year and a snap injury there. They will be taking on Tampa Bay coming off that shocking win last night by Tom Brady, the comeback. Their offense still doesn't look very good. Tampa Bay, I think, had 3 points until midway through the fourth quarter when that comeback really started. But I do find value in Tampa Bay here, guys. I think that comeback really ignited them, and it's just great value. I mean, San Francisco, they're going to be starting, basically an unknown quarterback. I know Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. He had a nice career in college, and he played well last week, commanding the offense. But I just think Brock Purdy versus Tom Brady, with Tom Brady being at home, coming off a comeback win with momentum, I think there's good value on that quarterback matchup for Tom Brady, Tampa Bay, plus the 4. These are games Tampa Bay, they know they need to win. San Francisco, they probably have the most talented roster in the NFL. It's just the quarterback situation with San Francisco. And I also think they're due for a loss. Just my opinion. That is a 425 game. And then the other 425 game, it's going to be Carolina traveling to Seattle. Unless there's an injury that I don't know about, I just don't understand this spread. I get that Seattle kind of disappointed people last week. They didn't cover against the Rams. Carolina is not a good football team, with Sam Darnold, with Baker Mayfield, with anyone they put there at quarterback. So I think this is, basically a blowout. Seattle really wins this game. We saw what they did again last week. Even in the close win, Geno Smith, 360 yards, 3 touchdowns, no INTs. He's still humming. They're at home. I don't understand this spread. Any analytical model will tell you that Seattle will easily cover and win this game, and I've got them winning by 13. And it also helps that Carolina, there's just not a big incentive to win these football games. They need to be trying to get as high of a draft pick as possible to draft their franchise quarterback, probably the number 2 or number 3 pick if they lose out. That's just my opinion. And then moving on to the Sunday Night Football game, it is going to be Miami taking on the Chargers. I believe this game was flexed. I am not exactly sure. I forgot what game that they flexed this for, but I think this was a 4 o'clock game that got flexed to 8:20. It's Tua Tagovailoa versus Justin Herbert, 2 really good young quarterbacks. Miami sitting as 3-point favorites, and I think the big thing we can't do, yes, it was a bad week last week for Tua. Let's not overreact, though. This is still a good Miami team. The Chargers, to me, have way too many holes, especially on defense, even though they are at home. We know it's not a huge home, environment there in LA. It's almost like a neutral site. So I will take Miami to cover the 3-point spread. I love the over in this game. Any Chargers game, you got to like the over. Even though it didn't hit last week, it was very close, and quite frankly, it should have hit. It ended up 27-20. The over/under was 49. But either way, guys, let's not overreact. Miami is still a good team. They are 3-point road favorites. I think they cover. The Chargers, simply too many holes on defense. Tua Tagovailoa is due for a bounce-back performance. And then moving on to the Monday night game, a zesty AFC-NFC. When is the last time New England has traveled to Arizona? Guys, when it comes down to this game, I'll be very simple about it. I am just trusting Bill Belichick against the team that really is a complete mess inside the locker room with Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury. That is it. Also, you do have the situation where Arizona is like 1-6 at home. Now, originally, I was going to use the reverse psychology and say, well, they're 1-6, so they're due for a win. But let's just trust Bill Belichick against the team that really is, again, they're just a total mess. Their coaching staff with Kyler Murray and Kingsbury kind of clashing heads, butting heads right now. Monday night game, we will take New England. Mac Jones manages the football, doesn't turn it over. They've got that extended rest coming off the Thursday night game. I think Arizona actually had a bye last week, if I remember correctly, so they have a really big rest. But still, I will take New England. I will take Bill Belichick on Monday Night Football. They need to win this game right now. I believe they are 500. They're 6-6. And so Arizona also needs to win this game, certainly, to have any chance at the playoffs. But I'll take New England on the road. And really, it comes down to coaching stability. But guys, that's going to do it for my NFL Week number 14 picks and predictions. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.